Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Rupa Yadav. Today I come with my video oral cancer. We can say also a mouth cancer, a cancer of the lip, oral cavity and pharynx, or cancer of the lip and oral cavity and pharynx. So those who are not subscribed my channel, go to through my channel and just subscribe it. Now let's start. Oral cancer. Oral cancer describe cancer that originate in the oral cavity. The oral cavity include the lips, the gingiva or gums, the floor of the mouth, the buccal mucosa. In the mouth, it most commonly start as a painless white patches that thickens, develops red patches and continues to grow. When on the lips, it commonly looks like a persistent crusting ulcer. Symptoms may include difficult or painful swelling, new lumps or bumps in the neck, a swelling in the mouth, or a feeling of a numbness in the mouth or lips, which is the soft lining of the inner lips and cheeks in the anterior or front two-thirds of the tongue, the hard palate, which is the tough front part of the roof of the mouth, and the molar trigone, which is the mucosa right behind the last molar on the bottom row of teeth. Behind the oral cavity is the oropharynx. The oropharynx include the soft palate, which is the soft part of the roof of the mouth. Right behind the hard palate, the tonsils, the wall of the throat, and the posterior or back one-third of the tongue. The oral cavity and oropharynx are lined by epithelium, and there are a few different types. The first type of epithelium is called the keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium. These epithelium cells produce keratin, a protein, the keratin at a protein that make the layer tough and protect against the normal wear and tear from food and drink. Now we can discuss the risk factor. What was the risk factor of the oral cavity cancer? Include tobacco and alcohol use. Those who use both alcohol and tobacco have a 15 times greater risk of oral cancer than those who are use neither. The other risk factor include HPV infection, chewing, pan, and sun exposure on the lower lip. Oral cancer is a subgroup of head and neck cancer. Diagnosis is made by biopsy of the concerning area, following the investigation with a CT scan, MRI, PET scan, and examination to determine it or to find the result of it. And it has spread to distant part of the body. Oral cancer can be prevented by avoiding tobacco products, limiting alcohol use, sun protection on the lower lip, HPV vaccination, and avoidance of pan. Treatment used for oral cancer can include a combination of surgery to remove the tumor and the regional lymph node, and the radiotherapy and the chemotherapy or targeted therapy. Through these all things we can determine or we can find out the oral cancer. The types of treatment will depend on the size, its location, and its spread of the cancer taken into consideration with the general health of the person. We can see in the data of 2018, oral cancer occurred globally in about 3,55,000 people and resulted in 1,77,000 deaths. Between 1999 and 2015 in the United States, the rate of oral cancer increased 6% from 10.9 to 11.6 per 1 lakh deaths. From oral cancer during this time decreased 7% from 2.7 to 2.5 per 1 lakh people. In oral cancer has an overall 5-year survival rate of 65% in the United States as of 2015. This varies from the 84% if diagnosed when localized compared to 66% it has spread to the lymph node in the neck and 39% if it has spread to distinct part of the body. That is, survival rates also are dependent on the location of the disease in the mouth. Next we will discuss briefly about the epithelial cell, that beneath the epithelium there's another layer of called the basement membrane that made of tough connective tissues, and below that is the lamina propria, which it more connective tissue than house blooded vessels, lymphatic nerves, and immune cells. The oral surfaces covered in keratinized epithelium include the hard palate, the dorsal surface or top of the tongue, and the gingiva. And the second type of the epithelium is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and it contains cell that doesn't produce much keratin, making this layer less tough. The oral surfaces covered by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium include the buccal mucosa, the floor of the mouth, the lateral and the ventral or a bottom, the surface of the tongue, the soft palate, the retromolar trigone. Now, the mucosal tissue in the oral cavity can undergo several pre-malignant pathological. That is, the first one of these is leukoplakia, where leuko mean a white and plakia mean a flat. This whole mean a white flat. Rise patches or a plug, and the leukoplakia specifically related to a white plaque with a no clear underlying cause. These leukoplakia are usually painless but can't be easily scraped away. Now, the exact cause for leukoplakia is unknown, but a non risk factor is tobacco use early on. These various are usually pretty thin, and it's called thin leukoplakia. This can either go away on their own, remain unchanged, or grow and become thicker, at which point it's called thick leukoplakia. If it become a bumpy, called nodular leukoplakia, and if it become wart like, that is called Verrucous leukoplakia. Now, a more serious form of leukoplakia is called proliferative verrucous leukoplakia, which generally affect women with no risk factor, and it has a predilection for gingiva and causes multiple rough white lesions that grow and spread it, and most cases eventually develop into squamous cell carcinoma at the cellular level. Leukoplakia typically shows a thickened keratin layer. Since keratin absorbs a water, a thin keratin layer look white when it wet. At a cellular level, leukoplakia may show cells that come undergo some degree of dysplasia, meaning that look abnormal in some way but are not cancerous or malignant. Yet, however, leukoplakia is considered a precancerous condition, meaning that compared to normal tissue, it's more likely to develop into a cancer in the future. And that change could happen at the microscopic level, meaning that the lesion might look the same on the outside, even though the cells have become cancerous. Generally speaking, the transition from dysplastic cells to malignant cells occur gradually, and as a cell become more and more dysplastic, the lesion sometimes develop red spots, and at that point that's called erythroleukoplakia cells. In their red areas have suffered serious damage to their DNA and don't mature normally, and therefore can't produce keratin, and so they become more and more atypical or more immature, become the epithelium, and it will start becoming thinner or atrophic and allow more of the underlying blood vessels. The blood vessels to be seen through the mucosa. At that point, the lesion will be completely red and will be called erythroplakia. Erythroplakia are more serious than a leukoplakia because almost always when they are removed and examined under the microscope, they will show severe dysplasia or early cancer. Now, a lesion that looks like a leukoplakia but isn't it an area of frictional keratosis. There were there's repeated physical trauma like a rubbing of the tooth surface against the mucosa of the cheeks. For example, after a dental procedure that leaves a rough tooth surface or a broken tooth rubbing against the mucosa, it's normal hyperplastic response, meaning the epithelial cell in the area divide more than usual and build up a protective layer of keratin. It's a bit like developing a callus or your hand after spending the weekend ranking lips. An area of the frictional kerators is not a precancerous lesion of usually fades away once the irritation stops. Most of the oral cavity is lined by the stratified squamous epithelium. So, the majority of the cancers that arise are squamous cell cancers. Squamous cell cancers arise from squamous cells that undergo genetic mutation that either activate proto-oncogenes or inactivate tumor suppressor. The gene when proto-oncogenes like epidermal growth factor receptor and res are activated, it turns them into oncogenes that promote cell division. And when a tumor suppressor gene like the genes that encode proteins P53, P16 and the retinoblastoma protein, also called PRB. PRB are inactivated. It removes the inhibition to cells division. So together they are uncontrolled cell division which can give rise to a tumor as a cancer. A cancer cell divide, they can sometimes gain the ability to penetrate through the basement membrane. And at that point, it's considered a malignant tumor. The malignant cells can then invade surrounding tissues like a salivary glands, muscles, and even get into a area of the body. It's a beat like a toddler's learning to get out the crib and then running rampant through the house. Proliferative Verrucous leukoplakia can turn into a particular type of squamous cell cancer called verrucous carcinoma, and it's also sometimes called snuff depots cancer. Since it's more common among user of snuff and other form of chewing tobacco. Generally speaking, malignant cells are irregular shaped with a darkly staining nuclei and enlarged nuclei and produce abnormal keratin that look like a pearls, or they were called keratin pearls. It's thought that most of the time co-carcinogenesis is necessary to cause oral squamous cell carcinoma. That means that more than one carcinogen or causation factor is needed to cause the disease, like abusing alcohol and using tobacco. Many carcinogens come into a contact with a wide area within the oral cavity and oropharynx. So the idea is that they cause the field cancerization. Thus mean that the entire contracted area or a field undergoes genetic changes and it's more likely to develop cancer in the future. In addition to squamous cell carcinoma, other type of oral cancer include adenocarcinomas, which develop in glandular cells like those of the salivary gland beneath the mucosa, extranodal lymphomas, which develop in melanocytes found all over the mucosal epithelium, but most often in the hard palate. Squamous cell carcinoma is also known to arise at the lip vermilion in those who smoke. right at the location where a person holds the smoking device, such as a cigarette. Or, however, most of vermilion cancer result from a chronic sun damage and are associated with the actinic cheilitis precancerous rough patch on the lip. The most common locations for oral cancer are the lateral and ventral surface of the tongue and floor of the mouth, and the lower lip vermilion because it's exposed to more sun than the upper lip. Now let's talk about the sign and symptom. What was the sign and symptom of the oral or mouth carcinoma? So in this we can see the sign and symptom of oral cancer depend on the location of the tumor, but the generally thin, irregular, white pellets in the mouth. They can also be a mix of red and white patches. That we mixed red and white patches are much more likely to be cancerous when biopsied. The classic warning sign is the persistent rough patches with a ulceration and a rise barrier that is minimally painful on the lip, and the ulcer is more commonly crusting and dry in the pharynx. It is more commonly a mass. It can also be associated with a white patches, loose teeth, bleeding gums, persistent earache, or feeling of numbness in the lip and chin or swelling. When the cancer extends to the throat, this can also be difficulty in swelling while taking meal, or painful swelling while in taking of water or any liquid, and an altered voice means changes of the voice may also be present, and very little pain until they become larger and then are associated with a burning sensation and spread to the lymph node of the neck. A painless hard mass will develop. If it is spread in the body, general can develop most often due to bone metastasis. And now we can talk about causation or the causes of the oral cancer. The oral squamous cell carcinoma is a disease of environmental factor, the greatest of which is tobacco. Like all environmental factors, the rate at which cancer will develop is dependent on the dose and the method of the application of the carcinogen, that is the causation of the carcinogen and a carcinoma. Aside from a cigarette smoking, other carcinogen for oral cancer include alcohol, viruses, particularly HPV, that is human papilloma virus 16 and 18, that is, and also a radiation and a UV light, ultraviolet light. That point, that is a first tobacco, second alcohol, third HPV means human papilloma virus, third betel nut, and fourth stem cell transplantation, and the fifth was pre-malignant lesions. In this all, we will discuss about the stem cell transplantation. The people after hematopoietic stem cell transplantation, that is HSCT, are at a higher risk for oral squamous cell carcinoma. Post HSCT oral cancer may have more aggressive behavior and with a poorer prognosis with compared to oral cancer in people not treated with HSCT. This effect is supposed to be occurring to the continuous lifelong immune suppression and chronic oral graft versus host disease. And the second point, that is pre-malignant lesion. Now we are discuss about this. A pre-malignant lesion, that means a precancerous lesion, is defined like a benign morphologically altered tissue that has a greater than a normal risk of malignant transform action. There are several different type of pre-malignant lesion that occur in the mouth. Some oral cancer begin as white patches that we call also leukoplakia, and the red patches we can also say erythroplakia, and both are if mixed, that was a red or a white patches, we also called a erythroleukoplakia or a wrinkled leukoplakia. And the last we are discuss about the diagnosis of the oral carcinoma and a mouth, we can say mouth carcinoma. The diagnosis of oral cancer is completed by these criteria, that is initial diagnosis, second was the staging, third was the treatment planning. A complete history and a clinical examination is a first completed, then a wedge of tissue is a cut from the suspicious lesion for tissue diagnosis. The might be done with a scalpel biopsy, punch biopsy, fine or a core needle biopsy. In this procedure, the surgeon cut all for a piece of the tissue to have it examined under a microscope by a pathologist. Breast biopsies are not considered accurate for the diagnosis of oral cancer. With the first biopsy, the pathologist will provide a tissue diagnosis. For example, we can see a squamous cell carcinoma and classify the cell structure. They may add addition information that can be used in a staging and a treatment planning, such as the mitotic rate, the depth of invasion, and the HPV status of the tissues. We can also understand it like a better access the size of the lesion, that is CT scan, through the CT scan, MRI or PET scan with a 18F means a fluorodecyl glucose, FDG. The other cancer in the upper aerodigestive tract, that may include endoscopy of the nasal cavity and pharynx and larynx and bronchus, and esophagus called a pancreatoscopy or a quadoscopy. Spread to the lymph node, that was see a CT scan, or spread to other part of the body, that is we can see from with the help of chest x-ray and a nuclear medicine. More invasive test may also be completed, such as fine needle aspiration biopsy of lymph nodes and a sentinel node biopsy. When the cancer has spread to lymph node and their exact location, size, spread beyond the capsule for like lymph node need to be determined, as each can have a significant impact on treatment and prognosis. A small difference in the pattern of lymph node spread can have a significant impact on a treatment and prognosis. Penadoscopy may be recommended. Pin the tissue to the entire upper aerodigestive tract are generally affected by the some carcinogens. The other primary cancer are a common occurrence from these collective findings, taken in the consideration with the help health and desire of the person. The cancer team develop a plan for treatment, since m- most oral cancer require surgical removal. And set of the histopathologic test will be completed on any tumor removal to determine the prognosis. Need for additional surgery, that was chemotherapy, radiation, immunotherapy, or other intervention. So the guys, thank you for watching this video.